So Worlds is happening right now, and that's obviously where the focus is. But Skirmish Season 8 starts this weekend, and I think it's going to be a doozy. Because with all the changes to the LL system, we're going to get our very first look at how it plays out with mid-season rotation. To be blunt, I think it's going to be a bit of a mess. So today, let's break down the LL projections, looking at each week. Will your favorite go away week 1, 2, or maybe not at all? Let's chat. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thanks for checking in. Today, I know, especially today, Friday morning, all eyes are in Barcelona with Worlds going on, which is completely fair. But Skirmish Season 8 starts this weekend, and we would be remiss if we didn't do at least a stab at our normal coverage. I typically try to do Skirmish Season, like Living Legend projections and tracking of all that. But it's going to be different this year, right? Just to bring everybody up to speed. We had the recent, 10 days-ish ago, we had the Living Legend system changes were, in addition to some point changes, which are not insignificant for Skirmish Season 8 specifically, going to 4 points. We also now have the Monday check to eliminate a hero going into the next weekend, right? So the check happens on Monday. The LL check happens on Monday for the points earned through the weekend, accumulating, obviously, if they have all the info. So I'm surprised there's not like a little slush there, but either way. And then that hero would be not legal anymore going into the next weekend. Now, what I have up right now, just to kind of throw everything in perspective, Skirmish Season 8 has roughly the same number of events-ish that it did in Skirmish Season 7, which was worth 1 point. Now, they were doing the sideboarding experiment. We also didn't LL any heroes, so no complaints on having them be worth more points, but I'm just putting in a perspective, roughly the same number of events, 4x the points. You can do the math and kind of figure out where we're going to end up. All right, so as of when I pulled it the other day, it had actually dropped from before, but there are 781. That number is the same, but now it's only 505 Blitz skirmishes, which means that some of them had converted over in the system to being draft, which is completely fine. So 505 Blitz skirmishes listed in Gem, again, as of the time I pulled this, and that's 2,020 points available, or on the board, potential for your heroes. Now, we can't just simply apply that. What we've done in the past is we simply look at that and we say, okay, we expect these heroes to get some percentage of the points. How many, and typically where it was like, how many wins would they need to get? What percentage of the wins would get? And obviously, if it's a small number, you would expect that hero to Living Legend. But we can't do that directly anymore. So now what I have up are the points available by week. Again, this is me doing manual counting, so take it with a plus-minus grain of salt, but it's within 1 or 2 events accuracy, right? Week 1, 120 events for 480 points. Week 2 is 136 events for 544 points. Week 3 is the big one with 159 events for 646 points available. And then week 4 is the little one, but also perhaps the one with the most fallout impact to other heroes that we wouldn't have expected, coming in at 90 events with 360 points. So what I want to do for the rest of today, with those numbers thrown out there, is really look at our top hero projections, or I should say the hero projections, and where we think our heroes could not only LL at, but when they might LL. All right, so if you break down each week, if you assume a 15% win rate, that hero would get 72 points week 1, 81 points week 2, 97 points week 3, and then 54 points. And then if you assume a 10% win rate, 48 points, 54 points, 65 points, and 36 points. So why I throw this up is just to kind of break out the math relatively easy so you can start to kind of plug and play on where the heroes might fall with the current gaps that they have. Right, so what I'm showing right now is a very similar table to what we've seen in the past, where we look at where they are currently with points, how many points they have remaining, what that correlates to wins, and then their percentage of the overall wins. But then what I've done is I've kind of changed the way that we approach the columns a little bit. What I'm looking at is what percentage of points would they need to get week 1 in order to Living Legend. Now, I do want to have a little caveat here in that the vast majority of the points are on the weekends. They're on a Saturday or a Sunday, the vast majority of them. But there are a couple of events around the globe that happen on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, which would technically be included in like the next week. But remember, the rotation, the announcement becomes made on Monday evening, and then the announcement would come, or the rotation would actually come later in the week. So technically, you have a couple floating events where heroes could continue to earn a handful of points after they were technically announced to not be legal, but hadn't actually become not legal yet. That said, it's such a small number. I don't really think it's that important, but there's a lot of folks out there who hold me to stuff like that. So I want to make sure that disclaimer is said. Okay. And we're talking like plus or minus 10 to 12 points, right, per week. Okay. But it could happen, right? Kano could end up getting an extra 12 points or something like that. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm enlarged it, right? Let's go ahead and talk about just kind of our key heroes. All right. So Kano is number one right now. He's also, so Kassai ended up being the big winner of Skirmish Season 7 in terms of the most points added. And we do still have sideboarding in place, so you can draw your correlations there. That said, Kano has 85 points left, which only correlates to 22 wins. It only needs 22 wins out of the 505. Probably going to LL. Again, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. He only needs 4% roughly of wins this season. Chane only needs to pull 5% of wins this season. Aria only 6%. Kassai only 6%, roughly 7%. Dorinthea. Well, you can see the numbers there, right? And I'm going to specifically be talking about Kano, Chane, and Kassai with reference to our week 1 projections, right? But now you can see I have the week 1 numbers there. So Kano would actually have to win 17.7% to LL week 1. Chane would have to earn just shy of 21% to LL week 1. And Kassai would have to earn roughly 30% to LL week 1. So again, given kind of the breakdowns we saw last time, I think it's going to be tough for them to LL week 1. Again, I want to be clear, there's no doubt that they're going to LL over the course of the season. I think, being able to pull 4% win rate, it's going to happen. 5% win rate, it's going to happen. With these heroes, absolutely, zero question. So I would have to say that if your skirmish that you're going to is week 1, you're fine. If it's week 2, you're probably still okay. If it's week 3, you might not want to be playing one of the top heroes. Now, of course, there's the shell game in there, right? Of if someone wants to play the same deck for the whole season, they're probably not going to pick something like that. So then maybe these heroes are getting less points. I completely grant that. I'm not going to try and project each individual's individual choice. But again, if you look at just the math here, and again, what the meta hasn't really changed. We've added a couple new heroes, but overall the meta hasn't really changed since Skirmish Season 7. I do think Chane's stronger now, right? People have really kind of, and there's 2 different ways to play him. I think he's gotten stronger. Some of the other heroes have gotten stronger as well. Database Dash is actually in the mix, so might steal some points from that overall. But, they're going to go. But I don't think they're going to go week 1, as to my point about before, Kassai was the big winner, and I think it was like a 15% win rate, and she was the big winner. So even if they're doing a little bit better than that, Kassai's, 30%, she's not going to win 30%. I don't think so. I think Chane actually could win 20%. I don't think Kano will win 20%, especially not with what we saw happen to him last season with the sideboarding and him being largely the target for that. So I think, again, if you're a Chane player, better hope your skirmish is early. I think, for all of these, hope that it's early, but, 20, even 30%, Kassai might make it to week 3. The rest of these heroes, I think, are probably good. The rest of these top 10 heroes, I'm saying, are probably good for the season, I would guess. That's my projection. I think they're good for the season. I think that your others probably out either week 2 or week 3. Okay, but week 1, you should be, obviously they're not banned until week 1 anyway, right? So it's really looking at week 2. Because you can take whatever you want week 1, don't have to worry about it. Get your points, rock and roll. But week 2, if you have something week 2, you're trying to figure out what to play, I think you can make a reasonable bet on your top heroes. And maybe roll the dice with your Chane, but, He's pretty good. So it is what it is. So anyway, that's the projection as I see it. Kind of short and sweet today, but getting these numbers in front of you and really putting it into perspective. I think it was very easy when we saw the huge smatter. I mean, again, 2,000 points on the table. That's huge, right? You look at that and you're like, oh my God, everybody's going to go away, which is true. But the timing matters. So I'd say 2 weeks, I think, for most of them. But hey, we will see at the end of week 1 what things look like. So anyway, folks, let me know in the comments below what you're thinking, what you're riding or dying with this season. If you are riding or dying, maybe you're riding and hopping. Either way. Thanks for joining. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Go Commando.